Creation is an equal part of doing and surrendering. The greats understood this. It's not about forcing or even willing. It's more about cultivating a relationship with the liminal and subtle spaces. Welcome to Intuition Unlocked, the podcast empowering empathic women who feel misunderstood, overwhelmed, or disconnected from their intuition, begin to trust their sensitivities, find inner clarity, and show up with embodied, unstoppable confidence in their daily lives. I am your host, Olivia Ashley, an empath and intuitive, and I am so happy you're here. Welcome back to Intuition Unlocked. It's Olivia here, and in today's episode, we're diving into the topic of creation, where ideas come from, why humans across time have seen themselves as co-creators with something greater, and how intuition is the bridge that allows us to receive, shape, and bring ideas into form. Today, you'll discover why creation isn't reserved for artists or entrepreneurs, but is a fundamental part of being human. How intuition plays a central role in receiving ideas, clarity, and creative direction, and where ideas come from, and how you can set yourself up to become more available to receive them. Knowing this, let's begin by zooming out for a moment. Creation is not just something we do. It's something we are inside of. Creation is a universal force that goes beyond rhyme or reason or anything we logically can understand. Everything around us, within us, is creating all the time. We see ourselves in the mirror of nature and this reality of this really grand creative life force through the trees growing rings, the river shaping land, seasons cycling, and within us and all of us, our cells are generating breath-giving life. We are all moving through this process of creation, decay, death, rebirth, and there is this beautiful force behind it all. Nothing is static. And humans have known this for a very long time. We've seen it, we've witnessed it, we've felt it. So we see this talked about across cultures. Creation has been seen not as something that originates solely from ourselves, from our body, or even from our individual mind, but it's more of a relationship between human beings and all of nature and a greater intelligence, a consciousness, or a life force. Philosophers, mystics, and spiritual traditions have spoken about creation as something that moves through us. The Greeks spoke of the muses. Indigenous culture speaks of dreaming reality into being. In Eastern traditions, creation is an unfolding of universal energy expressing itself in form, which means ideas don't just come from you, they come to you, and it's up to you to grab them and do something with it. So knowing we have this beautiful creation force that is affecting all aspects of our life, let's dive into ideas and creativity and how we can use this creation force in our day-to-day and to benefit us as an individual, as a society, to be creators, to tap into this force and express it. Well, have you ever noticed how certain ideas seem to arrive in waves, where multiple people invent similar things around the same time? Or books with similar themes get written simultaneously, or new ways of thinking seem to emerge collectively. And this is where thinkers like Carl Jung come in. Jung believed in the collective unconscious, a shared field of knowledge, symbols, and wisdom that humans can tap into, a kind of invisible web of consciousness that connects us all. And ideas seem to live in this field. And when someone is receptive, open, listening, present, they become an antenna for certain ideas. And once received, they are now the caretaker of the idea, not the owner, but the steward. And artists often talk about this. Writers say the story came to them to be written, that they received a spark of content or the whole story that came in. We saw this with J.K. Rowling and her idea for Harry Potter. And musicians describe songs being fully formed coming to them, melodies that are whispered while on the freeway for them to grab and make something with. Creators often don't force inspiration, they receive it. And what's fascinating is that two people can receive the same idea and create something completely different with it. Because while the idea comes into you, it flows out into the world from the lens of your body, your experiences, and your intuition. You're chosen as the vessel of ideas because ideas cannot take form without us, it seems. They live out in this creation force, in this field, and you as the conduit gets to hold and express it. And ideas seem to be very smart with how they choose people. They seemingly take into account one's roles, interests, hobbies, and craft as they choose who to bring it to, so they can take it into form. So usually a scientist receives an idea for an invention, an artist the idea for their painting, a writer a story, a chef the inspiration for a restaurant. And while this is not universal, it plays out time and time again. While there's so much we can't understand, when you start to look into this space, there are so many artists, scientists, inventors, people that express these discoveries, these creations, with this widespread feeling and sense that this came from outside of them. And there's a great deal of vocabulary used to describe the experience. It's often called intuition, revelation, inspiration, channeling, the universe, soul, God, universal consciousness. No matter where that's coming from, we can glean that there is a consistency, that there is a sense of something coming from beyond ourselves. And alongside this inspiration seems to be another common feeling that artists and creators have. They have a sense of being somehow accompanied as they work on their idea. Not like having a person there present, but also not feeling completely alone. So I dug into this notion a little bit to see what some of the roots of experiencing an external force in relation to ideas, and stumbled upon some interesting things around the word genius. In ancient times, particularly in Roman culture, people believed each person had a genius, a kind of guiding spirit or life force that accompanied them. This spirit wasn't the person themselves, but something that watched over them, supported their creative and generative power, and helped life move through them. The word genius actually comes from the Latin gignere, meaning to generate or to give birth to. It was about vitality, creation, and life energy, not actually identity the way that we look at it now. And the ancient Greeks had a similar belief, calling these guiding forces daemons or demons. These were seen as wise messengers that existed beyond the divine and the human. Even Socrates spoke of his daemon as an inner voice, one that didn't tell him what to do, but gently guided him away from what wasn't aligned. And I love reading about this because it shows us that historically this has been commonplace and common knowledge, that we seem to understand as humans that there was forces beyond ourselves, and we didn't try to take ownership for them the way that we now do in our culture. We are the genius. We have the idea. We get the credit. There was a stronger understanding of the co-creative nature of the universe. And so this older way of understanding creativity really helped to remove the pressure of needing to be the source, which we see day to day now, that we need to create, we need to have the next best idea, we need to be ready and out front and get credit for it. But that's where it gives us the invitation to become listeners, collaborators, and caretakers, open to receiving guidance, ideas, and insight when we're willing to make the space to do so. And related to this, there's a perspective on creativity and genius that I really love and changed the way I relate to ideas, inspiration, and the pressure I put on myself to create. And this comes from Elizabeth Gilbert, the author of Big Magic. She speaks of a powerful reframe around the idea of genius. She warned in a TED Talk in 2009 that when we label people as geniuses, it can actually be really harmful. The belief that creativity or brilliance is something you inherently are puts an enormous amount of pressure on the individual to constantly perform, to live up to impossible expectations, and to never fall short. So instead, she invites us to return to an older understanding of genius, one where genius wasn't something a person owned, but something they worked with. How beautiful is that? And that's where I see intuition can come in, because your intuition is often the very language through which this guidance, this creative life force speaks to us when you're quiet enough, present enough, and willing to trust what you receive. Your intuition is truly the bridge that allows creation to move from the unseen into your field and within you. It's how you sense what wants to be expressed. It's how you know when something feels aligned, and it's how you recognize an idea as yours to tend, even if you feel unsure or scared. But here's the thing, if you're constantly busy or you're putting huge pressure on yourself to create, then you might miss the subtle nudges of what wants to come through, or you doubt what comes through or dismiss the insight before it's time to root. This is why intuition is not separate from creation. It is creation. It is a part of the beautiful process and container. It allows us as humans to access this life force, to be creators, to hear, to witness, and then pull down and express ideas and insight. And this brings us to something so important because it's not just about having a clear connection. It's also about having dedicated time and space to receive the idea. So many artists and thinkers have spoken about this, about the importance of showing up before inspiration arrives. They don't wait to feel ready or confident in an idea. They create space regularly to both work on their craft and be open to receiving new ideas. So writers typically sit down at the same time each day. Painters enter the studio even when nothing is happening. And creators build rituals that signal, I'm available. Not because they're forcing output, but because they're creating a channel. This is such an intuitive practice and one that makes all the difference. Because when you set aside time consistently, whether it's 60 minutes, 20 minutes, even 5, you're telling your system and your subconscious and this greater field of ideas, I'm here, I'm available, I'm listening. And often these ideas arrive because you showed up. Creation is an equal part of doing and surrendering. The greats understood this. It's not about forcing or even willing. It's more about cultivating a relationship with the liminal and subtle spaces. And speaking of liminal spaces, some of the most profound ideas in history have come through dreams or the space between sleeping and waking. We see ideas from Einstein's theory of relativity to the periodic table, to the sewing machine, and to Paul McCartney's song Yesterday, all coming through dreams. There's something about this liminal state where the mind softens and the intuition is loud that is incredibly fertile ground for creation. Once again, it leans into when you're not trying to control or analyze, insight can slip through. That's where your intuition often speaks when we slow down. That's also why we often get our insights, our ahas. We can connect to ourselves, our guides, the universe, when we slow down, when we're on walks, when we're driving, when we're in the shower, or right before sleep, when our brain starts to quiet and shift into a deeper state of being. Creation doesn't shout. Intuition is very similar to creation. It often is not shouting, it's whispering, and it's up to you to notice. So knowing all that, you must know that you are meant to create. And I want to say this clearly, that creation is not just about art, writing, or business. You can create through how you respond to your life, the energy you bring into your home, the way you shape your days, the beliefs you choose to keep or release, the actions you take. Every choice you take is a creative act. And I know that as much as you want the next big idea, creation often meets us in more mundane ways than the history-altering ones. Yet that input is just as important to receive and bring to life. You are constantly creating, whether consciously or unconsciously. So the big questions I have for you are you setting yourself up to create from alignment, intuition, and trust? Are you an antenna to receive your ideas, or is your channel filled with interference? And do you have the time set aside to practice or hone your craft or channel through your chosen container? So notice what comes forward, how you feel in relation to those questions. And if you're looking to receive ideas, hone your craft, or simply be a channel for creation, here's a simple intuitive framework you can return to again and again to do so. Step 1 is create space. This doesn't need to be a big thing, but any measure of space will allow your intuition to speak and ideas to show themselves when they're ready. Build a routine around it where you go on a walk or take quiet time or open your notebook or a document on your laptop, and you do so every day for 30 minutes. Show yourself and this creation force that you are ready and you are open. Step 2 is listen. In this space you've created, notice what arises. Ideas, emotions, images, curiosity. Don't judge or analyze. Just get into the practice of receiving and letting yourself be guided how to use the time. And step 3 is act. Express what you receive or feels most right. Creation doesn't require massive leaps. One small step honors the idea and builds trust. Expression grows through a relationship. And if you don't resonate with something that comes forward, then let it go or set it aside. Ideas do not need to be hoarded. Let them come and go and grab onto what stirs you. This practice, while simple, if done with consistency, has the power to change how you create, the life you lead, and possibly even impact the world. Remember to surrender, though, to allow the genius to work through you and release any expectations. You don't actually need to know where it's going. Creation will unfold in its own way as you participate with it. So as we close today, remember that we are living in a time of rapid change and collective evolution. I know you know this. Yet new ideas are needed. New ways of living, being, and related are being born right now. And you are here for a reason. Your intuition and your life is not random. Your ideas are not accidental. And your desire to create is not frivolous. It's a huge part of the way life moves forward. It moves forward through you. So I'll leave you with this last question. What wants to be created through you right now? And are you willing to listen? Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend or leave a rating or review as a way to support the podcasts and more conversations like this. Until next time, have fun exploring your creativity and reach out if you want to share anything about it. I would love to hear. Thank you for joining me on Intuition Unlocked. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a moment of insight, guidance, or intuitive inspiration. To dive deeper into our community and get access to exclusive content, head to my website at www.olivia-ashley.com and subscribe to my newsletter. You can also connect with me on Instagram at wildlyolivia for daily inspiration and updates. Remember, your intuition is your superpower. Trust it, nurture it, and let it guide you. Until next time, I'm Olivia Ashley, and I can't wait to connect with you again.